I'm here with my guy, Michael Roos. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
I mean, and
we can find a date, yeah.
And we get to do this with a little bourbon.
Well, Sunday fun day.
You know, normally I don't get a chance to do this in the afternoon. I'm normally drinking coffee. And so to get to do it in the afternoon is great. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, get cooked, right?
Welcome. And I think it's a perfect segue into, this branding, get cooked. And
the gear we're wearing?
Yeah.
I think so. It works, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
how did you come up with this? Tell me about this brand.
There's a short, nice version, the elevator pitch, and then there's a longer one. I'll give you both.
Give me both.
In short, it's a lifestyle brand for saying yes, going all in, and get cooked. You know, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing. Currently, we're sipping a little bourbon, but your podcast, perfect example of it, right? Yeah. You grind away, you have a passion for something, and you just keep going. You don't quit. You say yes, you go all in, you do it, and you get cooked.
I like that.
The longer version of that is the phrase itself originated in a pub in Limerick. There's a good chance you were there that night on St. Paddy's Day in 2016.
This wasn't the time when I chased some guys on the street because they took our flag from us. Was that year?
See, because we got cooked all the time, it's hard to remember which year was which. I don't remember even who all the guys were on the trip, just that there was a couple in the bathroom at the time when an Irish guy was drunk and pissing, and he was talking to his buddy on the phone and said, "I'm cooked as a goat." And we found out it was an Irish term for being drunk. And so we're kind of like, okay, I like this. And because we always have a good time and, play golf, do everything. And kind of just been living that motto a little bit for all those years. Like we've made all kinds of stuff, golf balls, glassware. Like we all have random stuff that a lot of them I made. And like, my buddy Paul designed the logo. And last year, about this time, me and a few of my buddies in Spokane started discussing like, should we do this? Actually make a brand out of it and sell it? Because anytime we went anywhere, we're wearing the shirts because we have them for a group. Everybody's going, what is that? We kept talking about the idea of doing the company and opened up a newest bottle of bourbon at 1 a.m. and it was gone before we went to sleep.
Wow.
We were cooked.
Yeah.
But we actually came away from that night as like, we're not doing it. Because it requires a lot of things to happen. Everybody has to have a role and we're all friends. And it's not worth losing friendship over. So even though we did discuss at length who would be doing what, and like, we're all adults. We could tell someone like, hey man, you're not doing this and you should be. Anyway, we came away from it not doing it. And then like a few weeks later, somewhere else, Paul saw somebody ask about it or something like that. And he just texted, he goes, fuck it, we're doing this. So, all right. So started the LLC paperwork and then got it all finished last summer. And slowly, Paul built the website and slowly putting more gear on there. And I think it'll do well.
I like how you guys have turned this into a lifestyle brand. It's like taking this whole concept and saying, hey, no matter what you're doing, you got to get out.
Yeah, do it.
And I think it's a great segue into even just within our podcast, what we're doing, these intangibles. It's like that hard work. And if you have this resilience, this piece that it really drives you, you got to have that fuel to do it. And so let's get after it.
For sure, yeah. And working out is obviously one of the biggest ones. All of us work out. And it's how we text now. Like I'll text Paul or somebody like had a really good workout, whatever, like did this or whatever, sweating, like got cooked. Yeah, it's a part of our lifestyle.
I love that when you make these transition out of leagues, you never know how it's going to go. But let's kind of go back to just how it all started. You grew up in Estonia. And
born in Estonia. Most
guys that I talk to, they grew up in a football family. They grew up, that's what they're passionate about doing. But growing up in Estonia and, what was football like there? Was it even a thing on your mind or was it even part of your family?
Didn't know. I'd never heard of it, seen it, anything. Didn't know that it was a sport. Didn't really have TV. We're growing up in the Soviet-run Estonia, so there was not much you had in terms of freedom. We just were outside. So my brother and I would just play soccer and basketball. That's all we did, and then mess around. And we'd jump on trains and go to the next town over and go play in like castle ruins and stuff all day, and then come home for dinner.
Dude, that's pretty cool though.
Like I don't know what age I was. I had to be. We moved when I was 10, so I had to be 9 or 8. Me and him would grab a towel, hitchhike to a lake, and go swim, and then come back.
jump on a train, go swim, and come back. I mean, that's
different world.
It is a different world.
But then when we moved to America, obviously you see it a lot more, but didn't know anything about it. Had no desire, physical game. You're like, little kid, you're looking at it going, oh, that looks scary. Run into somebody. So generally, still didn't know anything about it, how it was played. Would watch it occasionally. Maybe, someone would have the Super Bowl on and you'd watch it a little bit. But once I got into high school, then you start, your basketball teammates are playing football. You kind of start being into it a little more. And coaches always try to get me to play and never wanted to because basketball was my love.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a basketball player.
Okay.
And then a couple factors right before my senior year in high school, went on an AAU team out of Seattle, traveled to Vegas, all these places. And, I was like the 12th guy. And seeing all these other players that are playing and they're, my size, but they're point guards. I'm playing center at 6'7", and a damn good one, like best in the league. And guys my size have handles and shooting threes and go, that ain't for me. It was a very quick wake up call to like, you just kind of look around going, I can't hang with this. There's no like, ooh, if I work hard for the next month before school starts, I'll get there. Like, no, this is just different game. So I was like, that was a factor. Like, okay, basketball is not going to be your. You might play somewhere like junior college or something, and then when I was playing in JV basketball for a couple weeks as a sophomore, the coach of that team, my last year in high school, became the head football coach, and he was one of my favorite coaches I've ever had. Just one of those guys that talks with a passion and just you feel his energy, just has that immediately. It doesn't matter what he's talking about. You're just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay. So he became the head coach. And I loved him. And then the third factor, kind of even at that age, just had this thought of, I don't want to wonder later, right? Because your adult life, you can change things. You got time. People don't do great things till they're 35, 55. It doesn't matter. I want to become an actor at 60. You can.
Become an influencer.
High school ends, right? You got 3 years. When I went, it was 10 through 12. Now most high schools are 9 through 12, but it ends. Yeah. You can't go back to high school sports. Do it. You can go try it with friends, but organized, can't do it. So I just had that thought of like, okay, I don't want to be that person where you even see it in movies, TV shows, the guy that like wonders, what could have happened if I'd done this in high school, or I could have been somebody, or those thoughts that you see sometimes. And so I was just like, well, let me just try it. At least I know I did it the one time. Maybe I hate it, and then at least I know it wasn't for me. But turns out it very much was.
I mean, but I'm still thinking about coming from Estonia to the U.S. and you port in Seattle. That's where you guys come in at.
So no, our port of entry was New York.
New York.
Then flew to Seattle. From Seattle flew to Portland.
Okay.
So our travel started in Tallinn, Estonia. A train, I think it was an overnight train to Moscow. Then all the immigration BS that you have to deal with in a just not Soviet-run Russia, so still pretty Soviet-run.
Right.
Yeah, then it's a flight from Moscow to New York to Seattle, Seattle to Portland. And then my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister, lived in Vancouver, Washington, and they came and picked us up.
Okay.
They had a baby 3 days prior.
Wow. And so, but like, I mean, you come here and like you used to, I mean, was basketball a thing? Or is it just like, hey, you're a tall kid, we're going to put you in basketball?
Well, because my brother and I always played it, even as little kids, it was definitely, we'd still go, we lived across the street from a big park in Vancouver, and we would just go, there was 2 full courts, just street ball, and we'd go and met some of our first friends, were just playing basketball with strangers. We couldn't speak English, but you don't need to when it's sports.
Yeah.
Right? There's basketball rules. They're the same rules.
Yeah.
Save for a few changes here or there, but we were pretty good even at a young age, and our friends hated playing us because we would just talk in Estonian and tell each other what to do or what we're going to do next, like, whether it's setting picks or whatever, and they were not pleased with it at first. But then slowly started to get better at learning English. And
how long did it take you to learn English?
I honestly can't remember. Got here, 0 words, obviously in ESL classes and that kind of stuff, and got here was in 4th grade. I remember by the end of 4th grade, we could speak. So less than a year, I think.
Yeah.
Because we forced ourselves, even at home, we would try to speak English to learn it. Then backfired because then I forgot how to speak Estonian.
I was about to ask, can you like
No.
some words, no words?
I could, for a while, I could understand if someone was speaking like what they're talking about, the gist of it, which Martin, my brother, right now, he still kind of can. He's tried to get back at it a little bit and learning it. There's not very few words.
Man,
I could pick up more like German and Italian conversations than I can Estonian.
That's why it's fascinating. The brain can learn a new language, but then you can forget something that you grew up doing.
Yeah, I bet if I went there for like a month, it would
like riding a bike.
You got to assume it'll start coming back, right?
Yeah.
If you're around a bunch of. The thing is, Estonia is such a internet savvy, progressive place. Everybody speaks English. So
yeah, fair enough.
You have to like force people to speak Estonian to you, or just go out in the country where people don't really speak that much English.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so you pick up basketball, and now you're thinking basketball is your thing, and you go through high school, you realize, I mean, 6-7 guys out here shooting threes. Now, what do I do?
Well, I am European, so obviously I could shoot threes. So I was still a center that was shooting threes, but I didn't have any handles or quicks or hops, like barely dunk. Like, there's 6'2" guys that are flying over me, and like it worked for just until that time, and then like, okay, you're done.
So your coach goes on. He starts coaching football. What was that experience like, making that transition from basketball, especially with the memory of like first watching it when you came over? You're like, ooh, I don't run into somebody.
Now I mean, once you kind of put the pads on and helmet, and you kind of the first hit from somebody is you assume it's going to be this like, oh no.
Yeah.
And you kind of realize like, oh, okay, that's why there's padding, and like you don't not feel it, but it isn't like, oh, I'm hurt or injured. It's just be a man and take a hit, So, but still, I was this height, but I was like 220 pounds. So I was like a receiver, like a tight end receiver, like line up in the slot sometimes hand down. Like I don't remember run blocking very much because we were very aired out, spread offense. So.
See,
and my basketball coach didn't mind me playing actually that last year because then obviously I was not a like hard, gritty, tough kid. Yeah. I was a finesse basketball player, so he liked it for toughening me up for basketball. Do a post move and actually go up instead of like do one of those.
Did it translate for you?
It helped, yeah. It was my best year of basketball.
Yeah. And this wasn't until your senior year. Mm-hmm. All right, so you go out your senior year to play basketball. Were you hoping to get a scholarship somewhere, or were you just kind of like, I'm just doing this because I'm enjoying it and I like being around this coach that
football, you mean?
For football.
Yeah, there was no thought of that being a scholarship. I was thinking maybe I still go play summer basketball, small school summer. And then when the coaches came to watch a basketball game, they were coming to watch one of our other basketball players who was our best everything guy on football team, like a Devin Hester, like
oh wow,
punt returner, receiver, but he wasn't the best receiver, but you get him the ball and it's like you can't catch him.
Yeah.
And they came to watch him and saw me, one of my rare attempts at a dunk. I picked the guy at midcourt, playing football so long now. Stole the ball from him and went up to try to dunk it. He fouled me. And later the Eastern coaches told me kind of like, that was, showed a little bit of something like some grit or whatever you want to call it. And after that game, they talked to me and offered me scholarship. So now I'm thinking, well, I don't love football. I don't even know it still that much, but we're a single mom from a Soviet country with 3 kids. That's the only way I'm going to school.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, we got free school out of this. Let me see how it goes.
Yeah.
But now all those stages, high school and college too, this still translated, even at a young age, because I'm going, okay, let me see what this is going to be like. But once I'm doing it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quit on it. I'm not going to give up on it. Especially if I, NCAA contract, NFL contract, if I sign something and say I'm going to do it, I will do it until something stops me.
Yeah.
You got to, like after my appendix, I was still trying to play the next week. And the doctors had to tell me you can't. I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to practice, right? They're like, can't do that.
Well, I mean, it's still very similar stories to, to a lot of kids who are playing sports that comes from some adverse situations, trying to figure out how do I get my school paid for? How do I take the burden off my mom?
Yep.
In that situation, was your mom, did that really help her with not having to worry about you?
For sure, yeah. I know she was worried about me playing football for same reasons, to like get hurt, and we don't have insurance, or not good insurance if we did have any. But I think the school was able to kind of, if you got a little injury or something like that, they found a way through booster clubs. And like, I didn't have shoes. We can't afford football shoes.
Yeah.
And the football coach, my guy, he just found a way to like, one day I'd show up and I had cleats.
Yeah.
In my locker, like.
And you were wearing a size 15, 14? Yeah. I remember that when I was in high school, we couldn't find cleats. And so my coach had to go all the way to the Falcons in Atlanta to give me a size 18. I was wearing a size 18 at the time. And my mom couldn't afford cleats. We couldn't even find cleats. And so he came back and it was in my locker, the nice little pretty box.
Oh yeah, back then they weren't even really making size 18 cleats. Like,
no. Yeah, very special to, a professional team, whether it's NBA or a football team, the only place you can really find them. You couldn't go online and order them.
Right.
Yeah. And so again, like, it's always ironic to hear the stories coming from different places, and we've been knowing each other for a long time. And so, this is the first time we've actually gone deep into this story.
There's always been snippets, or like especially jokes. There's always jokes at someone's expense in the locker room. But it was a huge relief for my mom in terms of I'm going to get a college education, and I wasn't that far from home. Eastern was 5.5 hours from home, so simple enough for her to come watch some games and come visit. And same for me in the summer going back home, and it was nice.
Yeah. And so you get to Eastern, and now like you're in it's small college, but it's real football.
Yeah, still Division I football.
Still Division I.
I came in redshirted as a tight end. I actually, because I was, played basketball, was trying to play basketball, in my first year, I was on both the basketball team and the football team. So since I was redshirting anyway, they basically told me like, hey, if you want to, learn or try, basically, it's not costing them anything.
Right.
I'm on football scholarship.
Right.
And redshirting anyway, need to put me in a game. So I would go at 6 a.m. for football workouts, the off-season winter workouts, and then class, and then 2:30 for basketball practice. And I was a zombie.
Yeah, I bet.
It was
no legs.
Physically just, at a time when I'm supposed to like try to bulk up and become a college football player, because I came in at the time I actually came to college, I was probably 230, 35. That lasted, I don't know how many weeks, 4 or 6 weeks. I finally went to the basketball coach and I was like, I can't do this. This is, not going to be good for my body. And he's like, I understand. But it was an interesting and fun experience to actually run with, Division I basketball players too. Like, more proof that I was not going to be a basketball star. But at the same time, if I was
basketball, you were cooked.
But for a different meaning of cooked, But at the same time, if I was doing just basketball, like I said, I'm not going to give up on anything. So if I was redshirting as a basketball, as a walk-on or whatever, I would have then been spending all my time on basketball.
Yeah.
And would have gotten better. No way to know what would have happened, obviously. But still, it's one of those, And then my second year, they moved me to tight end to defensive end, and sometimes tight end, just to put me on the field at least. And same thing is like, someone's asking you to do something. I might not like it, but I want to do it.
Man, how was the end? This is why you're so athletic.
Interesting.
How was the end? Did you have a sack dance?
No, I didn't.
Did you get a sack? Did you have?
I had at least one. I think I had like 1.5 sacks or something like that.
So you're in the books, all right?
Yeah, I had a fumble recovery. It was. I never played that position before either, so there was no pad level. I'd just like stand straight up, and like 6'7", some tackle is just like, okay, I guess we'll just stand here. But it gave me some good perspective as to like what it looks like for a defensive end trying to go against the guy.
Yeah.
So then when I switched over to left tackle, it helped. It wasn't like, oh, that was the reason, but it didn't hurt having that perspective from a defensive end standpoint.
Dude, you know,
or just gap control, or like the spacing of everything.
You know us old linemen, we always like when the big boy get the ball, get a sack. And so the fact that you play DN I'm getting all excited over here. And you're like, oh, nonchalant, like, oh, yeah, no, hey, come on. Big boy get the ball, get some sacks, let's go.
All those signs earlier, like not being that excited about stuff, just was proof that I was meant to be an old lineman. Like, don't need all the attention.
Old grumpy man.
Yeah, you don't need all the attention. Just do the job.
Yeah.
Just get the job done and go home.
So you kind of bouncing around different positions, trying to figure out, what's that spot. What was your mindset? What was that mental grind that you had to go through to stay there?
It was a variation of kind of what I said, where like as I got moved positions, or then eventually, or they asked me to put weight on. Like in my mind, I'm going off of like I said I was going to do this. You're the coach. You're the people giving me the school. You're the authority, right? So if that's what you want from me, if I don't want that, that means I'm walking, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that.
Right.
So if you ask me, I might not like it, but I'm going to still do it at 100%.
Yeah.
Me and Jared Allen joke one time, we always do it as old linemen, right? Like I'm going to bitch doing it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference.
There's a difference.
Me and Jared talked about,
are
you bitching or are you complaining?
Right.
If you got a complaint, you got to go talk to someone.
Right.
Right. You want to talk to the coach, whatever. But I'm going to bitch while giving 100%.
Yeah.
That's just being like,
and say that again, because I think
this sucks, and then you go, huh? And you're going, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's the difference between, are you bitching or are you complaining?
Yeah. I think that's just, it's
nothing
just
wrong
so
with
spot
bitching.
on. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with bitching.
But are you getting your work? 100%.
You're going to give it your all.
Yeah.
Do it with a lot of stuff, You could be mowing your lawn, just bitching, it's so hot out here. Like, I'm going to make that nice straight line, though. It's going to look good.
Oh, yes, you were definitely built to be an old lineman, because that's spoken like a true old lineman. We're going to bitch all the whole way, but we're going to do our job to the fullest.
Yeah, I can't quit. Like, whatever, I'm going to start. So each position change, everything that happened and put on weight to be an old lineman, it was all still just like kind of a variation too of let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Knowing I'm going to do it. And then like I kind of had to figure out and tell myself that I do have to learn to love this game. You can't put that much into it if you don't love something.
Right.
But early on, I didn't. It was truly just like figure it out and let's see what happens.
Well, you get to this place where it's like that crossroad of like, all right, I gotta figure out if I'm gonna love this game.
Mm-hmm.
And you make that move from the defensive side of the ball to becoming all world left tackle. How long did it take you to really get into that groove and make that commitment to say, hey, I love this game now. I want to put everything I have into it because it can get me to the next level?
So the getting to the next level, I never thought was a realistic thing until almost the very end of my senior year, because I didn't want to ever have a thought like that be a factor. I'm still going each day and doing what I'm supposed to do, what I told them I was going to do. Why worry about, some dream scenario where this could happen and have that affect your work ethic or thought process? It's pointless. It's till it happens, it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
But the going to O-line, a little difficult at first because it was just one of those like, you were a tight end and catching balls, like who wants to be an O-lineman? Like didn't know deep down. I probably did want to anyway. When I was the first 2 years redshirting, the O-line grad assistant, who's similar to the JV basketball coach, loved them. He became the O-line coach the year they moved me. So that made it easier again to be like, okay, I respect this guy, like this guy. He'll motherfuck you and get after you, but it's with love and respect.
Yeah.
First guy to smack you and be like, that was a hell of a block.
Yeah.
He might have just yelled at you, but there's plenty of coaches that just yell and then walk away and you're like, okay. So I moved the offensive line. So that helped grow the love a little bit. And then working on technique, which my brain has always been very analytical, structured. I like technique and, trying to hone it and perfect it. So then you start figuring out, like, I'm not a strong guy, but if you do it the right way, you don't have to be that strong. Yeah. You still win. And so started liking it a little bit more and just kind of feeling it out. And then my first snaps ever at offensive line in college were against Terrell Suggs.
Oh.
In Tempe. The year he got the NCAA sack record, he had a few against us too, but none were against me directly.
All right, okay.
So that was one of those like final, like that was the first game of the year, obviously, and he was already like top 3 pick. It was a no brainer. He was going to be one of the first picks in the draft. So then to go play that game, I mean, we played bad, but it was a money game. We had to pay bills. But to watch the film and feel like I did better than I thought I would, obviously, and be like, well, maybe there's something here.
Yeah.
Like that was a pretty hard challenge, probably the hardest one I might have.
Right.
And did fine. And then you just build it from there. And
confidence grew.
Keep working. Like, okay, I can do that, but obviously this was bad, or like shaky here, or whatever. And like, okay, you can go somewhere from here and keep building it for sure.
Yeah. So that was a welcome to playing O-line. You get a guy like that. Yeah. I mean, he had power, speed. I mean, he just
long arms.
Yeah, just nasty. And he let you know he was coming every single play.
Yeah, me and Suggs played against each other 5 times probably. Baltimore.
And he's trash talker too now.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Did he was he talking trash to you?
You'd have to ask him if you ever saw him. I don't know that he liked playing against me because I wouldn't talk back. I never spoke back. I'd always just do my job, and I could be mistaken, but I don't know that I ever gave up a sack on him.
Yeah.
Even when he was in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong.
I mean, but that's a typical O-lineman too, though, because we got to conserve our energy,
Well, for sure.
The big guys, when we're like, I don't have time. I just, I can't breathe right now, so I'm just going to get back to the huddle.
Yeah, you could say whatever you want to me. Like, there's people who get upset when someone makes fun of their moms and what. You're like, doesn't know your mom. Why would it get to you? Even if you found out the name, like, okay, you could say anything. Like, I know what you're doing. You're doing it to get me riled up, and I'm a waste of energy.
So now you settled into this position. Now your confidence is growing. You're building you're building a reputation. You play against a guy like Suggs, and then you just continue to get better and better each week. At what point though did you start to get toward this NFL draft? You start thinking about like, man, I actually may have a shot here
to go in line with the podcast. As I got closer to senior year, a lot of other the scouts would come to stuff, and somebody would be like, "Oh, they're coming to see you," and I'd be like, "Okay." They're not talking to me, and they're not allowed to, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Hope they like what they saw. I can't control it. Then senior year, the talk ramps up from other people, outside sources, just people, coaches, and administrators, and the whole time, all I focused on was proving that I still am supposed to be here. I'm still a new football player. So every camp, every week, every opponent was still like, okay, people might be saying this about me. I got to prove it.
Right.
I can't embarrass myself or anybody, like if they think that, then you got to give them reason to keep thinking that. But it was still just work on your technique and be the best version you can be. And same with, especially coming from a small school at the time, I didn't really fully, I don't think, appreciate how rare it was back then to go to the Senior Bowl and Shrine Game.
Especially coming from a small school.
That's what I'm saying. Like Shrine Game, that's a little more likely. Right. Senior Bowl is pretty exclusive. Like basically, if you make it to the Senior Bowl, you got like 98.9% chance of being drafted. Yeah. Like people they don't not get drafted at the Senior Bowl. But even then, I go to the Senior Bowl, first day doing one-on-one drills, Roos, right tackle. I've never been in a right tackle stance in my life. I've only been in a left tackle stance for 3 years.
Right.
And they're like, one-on-one, you're like, and Marcus Spears, like there's a lot of dudes that played a lot of years in NFL there. And I right away just was saying my mindset was the same. All right. They asked you to do this. Don't embarrass yourself. Do the technique. Don't give up. So I just played right tackle all week. And did well, and here I thought I did well. Like I don't usually like to think that way about myself, but it was even. I came back from that with my agent. Like these are all SEC Big Ten guys, and I'm coming from Big Sky. Like okay, maybe I can belong here. But then when you get drafted, now you're amongst veterans of those schools, and now I'm back to, I got to prove that I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get there, you already feel like, man, all right, I'm proving myself to be here because a small school guy doesn't normally end up in these with this opportunity. And then they throw you into the fire and say, now you're going to right tackle, and then you prove yourself there. And here you are now with this real belief that, hey, I can actually get drafted here. And that day comes, and you're sitting there, and your number get called. What was that experience? I mean, thinking about the whole history of how you've gotten here to this point.
Yeah, what I did is, it'd be a big no-no right now. And I wasn't thinking that way because, again, I'm not thinking I'm some high draft pick and this is all going to work out for me perfectly. It's all fuck around and find out. Literally, that's all it really was. But while doing it, you going 100%, doing what you're supposed to do. The draft was the first full rounds back then, right? The first day?
Yeah.
First, second, third, fourth? Or was it only first, third?
First.
1, 2, 3, right?
1, 2, 3.
And then 4 through 7. So we're thinking it could be third round, fourth round, whatever. At the time, there was 3 tackles that were 4 tackles that we thought were very much rated ahead of me. So I'm not even thinking until those 4 gone. So we were like, well, we're going to watch, families in town, everybody's in town. We're going to watch anyway. Let's just have a draft party of sorts. So we went to this bar in Spokane and just asked them for like the little side room and just had drinks and food. But it wasn't a draft party. Like, let's watch me get drafted. I was just thinking someone else could cook. Yeah. Let's just relax, have a beer, And
man, I see all these plays on Cook here, man.
3 of the tackles get picked. So I'm waiting for the 4th one to get picked before I even think my phone is going to ring, and the phone rings. And you're like, it's early second round, basically like, who the hell's, who's playing a joke on you? But, well, it was a 615 number. That's Jeff. It was weird phone call. I don't remember what I said. Just like, yes, thank you. What else do you say, right? Like,
what happened in that party? The party that wasn't real as a party.
Silent, obviously, because I'm on the phone and everybody's doing that, like, shh, But at the same time, now they're just staring at you, like, what's he saying? No one can hear what coach is saying, but trying to understand what I'm answering or whatever. And you can't not see that, right? Yeah. Like, we play sports. Your peripheral vision should be pretty strong. And so I'm kind of like trying to do one of these, like, just stop looking at me. Just want to get through this phone call. But then, there was hang up the phone and big cheers and some Estonian vodka and then relax the rest of the night.
Yeah.
I think we went to a concert or something, like a show
awesome.
Or something. And then the next day, I think because I was born in Estonia and it's an intriguing story, they flew me there the next day also at the same time when they, the first round pick always goes for the press stuff.
Yeah.
So they flew me over there the same time as Pac-Man. Yeah. I did not get the private jet. I think Pac-Man got I don't think Bud had two jets.
Well, ironically, you were, and that was 2005, so we got drafted the same year.
Yeah, I was like 10 picks after you, 11 picks.
Yeah, you were heading to the south, and I was going to the west coast. So crossing path there.
You were in a private jet, though.
No, I was not.
Oh, really?
I was commercial. Oh? You had to be a receiver or a quarterback. Being an old lineman is kind of like, it'd be good.
And end of the round too.
Yeah.
The team's not as like, woo.
Yeah. Fans were not that happy already that you used a first round pick on an old lineman. So
that's true.
All right, so now you're here. You're in the league, and you make that transition to Tennessee in the South. Me from the West Coast here,
very different. Yeah.
And now you're in training camp. How was that experience in training camp with the heat and humidity here in Tennessee?
The same as all those other transitions, right? Now I'm supposed to be here. I got drafted, so obviously they see something in me good enough. I'm still kind of like, okay, why? I got to prove it again, right? And it's such a whirlwind. Anything, first year, everything is such a whirlwind. It wasn't like the phrase, like, you can't keep your head above water. I just didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
You just keep going and not try to get through it, but you kind of, in some ways, that's the attitude, because if you stop, everything moves so fast. So if you stop, you're going to get behind.
Yeah.
So you have to just keep paying attention, keep reading, keep practicing, watching film, all that stuff. And at the end of the season, you can finally go, the hell just happened? Like, But yeah, I'm in training camp, and the Titans had just purged. They had a bunch of cap issues, so a bunch of players got let go, and they drafted 3 tackles that year.
Yeah.
So they were needing someone to be a right tackle. Hoppy had 1 year left, and at some point he was going to be gone, but even for that year. So I came in and I was playing right tackle right away with the ones. And so I'm next to men, and the guy calling the plays is Steve McNair. Like, that's a little bit of a shock from Cheney, Washington, and, near Spokane. So very surreal to just kind of like, okay, well, I'm here. I don't know if it was Benji Olsen or Zach Pillar even. I was playing next to Benji in my first year, and he even kind of a couple times be like, "You're in the huddle. You're good. Like, like you're supposed to be here because you're here.
You're here now.
Just, don't overthink it. Don't think too much, kind of thing." And
what would you call that intangible?
I've thought about it before. If there is a word. It's not one that I've come up with. I don't like the word stick-to-itiveness. I don't even know if it's a real word.
No,
it gets used in sports.
Yeah.
But like
this level of commitment.
Yeah, like you're not afraid of. You can't be afraid to fail.
Right.
That's a major thing in all sports, but in life, you got to be willing to take a loss because that's how you grow. Right. So, yeah, just sticking through. Integrity? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you say, like I said, you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it, but you can't half-ass it.
Yeah. High character. I mean, it's so
like
many
you said we're doing this at 1. Like I'm here at 12:45.
You was here. I was like, I know you.
I'm
was
not going to be here
here
at 1.
Right.
Like I'm late. Maybe I'll cruise around the neighborhood for 10 minutes if I was at 12:30. But like it's gonna, just those little things of like. I don't know if there's a good one word for that intangible.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's unique, their mindset. Because I mean, and obviously it comes from how you grew up and making that transition here to the U.S. and realizing like, oh man, I'm gonna play sports, and then next thing you know, you're here at the big stage, and
and I don't even know at what point it came about or developed. Might have been slowly. Maybe it was an incident that I can't pinpoint.
Yeah,
because obviously it wasn't that way as like a 12-year-old, right? You're a kid,
right?
But at some point. It might have been just the lack of having a father figure. My parents got divorced before we even moved. So my entire life has been without a father. So then your coaches are your father figures. Right. So then you're going to respect them and do what they say because that's what a father figure would do. So it might have come once I started organized sports here in America, especially high school. That might be where it kind of started building and coming through. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You would kind of with the, I'm going to do it because I said I was going to do it, but it's because you, as the coach, father figure, you asked me to do something, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Partly because I agreed to it anyway, but you're the authority figure.
Right.
So why would I be, I'm the kid, how do I have a say in it,
Well, I like it. I like stick to it in this. I mean, I like that. Even though we, word or not a word, but I like that because it's interesting that we're in this time where we're lacking that stick to something, and so
I don't see a lot of it right now.
Yeah, and I think it's it's good to hear guys who've gone through these trying times and just had this mindset of I made this commitment. I'm gonna stick with this commitment, and the only thing that's going to break that commitment is something just
something
drastic.
Yeah,
right. And
something big, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but now you're in this position where you come in and like you realize that this playing right tackle at the Senior Bowl has prepared you to step right in and play right tackle.
It ended up being one of the biggest benefits I had. Yeah.
So now you're behind, but you're not behind.
The oh shit moment passed.
Right.
And right away too. Once they drafted me. It was right away, knew that I was going to play right tackle at least that first year because that's what they needed.
Right.
So then, as soon as whatever that was, April, whatever the draft was back then, brain shifts it to that mode right away and just okay, now I'm doing when I'm working out drills, everything's going to be the right tackle spot and
locked in.
Get ready accordingly.
Yeah. And so you go on and you block for Steve, you block for Vince Young, Kerry Collins. I mean, Chris Johnson. I mean, you had a
Your boy
long list
Matt.
of Hasselbeck, Ryan Fitzpatrick. The list of quarterbacks, Jake Locker goes
Which
on.
is fun because I love all those guys, but like in terms of an organization winning, that's really bad. You block with that many guys.
It's tough.
Things didn't go well.
It's tough. But you became a cornerstone left tackle in this league for a very long time. I mean, I think correct me if I'm wrong, you were the second left tackle to play for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, from 1993 to 2014, the Titans had two left tackles.
Two left tackles. I mean, which is really impressive. Really impressive. And so
most of that is thanks to Mike Munchak.
Well, I was going to ask you about him. People don't realize like how important coaching is. I mean, I think they do, but like, we kind of look at the talent and we say, okay, there's talent, but coaching is it's up
Getting
there
the most out of that talent.
Right. And I mean, you couldn't pick a better coach to come here and play for to get the most out of you. I mean, I wish I would have came here, early in my career to play for Mike Munchak, because when you look at the O-line you guys had, I mean, when you compare the talent level to other teams, he got the most out of you guys. Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit about Mike.
He was so good at teaching you like basics. Like you were here, we'd still, even when Bruce, like every Wednesday we would reinstall 12 gut.
Yeah.
The run play. That didn't, so Brad Hopkins spent 12 years of Wednesday mornings installing 12 gut. He knew how to run 12 gut against every front. Right. I did after a couple of years. But you still talked about it. You still talked about every adjustment. And when you went to practice, the first 10 minutes was the footwork for those same plays that you've been running for days and weeks in training camp, whatever. Because at some point you're going to be tired. And it's an old cliche, right? Like I want you to be able to do this in your sleep.
Right.
Like bad phrasing. There's no nice, great way to say that, but that's why you do it, because it works.
Yeah.
So at some point you're not thinking about, or worse, you don't think about it and your footwork goes because you're tired, and now your feet are crossed, and then a DN or D tackle, whatever, just throws you on your ass, 3-yard loss, and you just lost the game. You've done it so many times where you don't have to think, where's that foot going, which direction, how deep am I? You've done it thousands of times correctly, and it just happens then.
So it's something to be said about keeping things simple. Mm-hmm. He kept it simple.
Because then there's always some point in the week, obviously, you have the other stuff, right? Everything would be compartmentalized to like simple stuff Wednesday, maybe some stuff blitzes on Thursday, red zone Friday, which most teams do that the same. But then in the O-line room, it was just really broken down. And Saturdays, Munch would always have this packet of like what have all throughout the whole week, all the little tidbits of every little play, front, defense, blitzes, all broken down, everything we talked about. And we always joke, like, once you're in the league, obviously not as a fresh rookie, but you could not go to practice all week and Saturday morning be given that packet and you'd be ready to play Sunday.
Yeah.
It was so detailed.
Yeah.
You didn't have to think about anything. You just played.
Yeah. So it made you guys play free.
Yeah. And then the other thing, yeah, for sure. And I never heard him raise his voice. Yeah. It was like a father-son relationship where like, you don't want to disappoint him.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it worked if you bought in right away. And I figured it out very quickly when I watched older guys do it. If you messed up during a game, you come off trying to make an adjustment and he asks you what happened, better not lie. Everybody doesn't want to take blame. They go like, well, I hit him with my hands and then this happened. And because he tell you, the film will tell me later.
Yeah.
So if you lie, you're not playing. Yeah. It wasn't that drastic, but like you lie enough times, someone else is going to take the spot.
Right.
It's okay to mess up. Just tell me that you messed up and we'll go from there and we'll fix it Wednesday at practice. But for right now, can we run that play again? Because you didn't do it right that time. So, but it was refreshing to be able to come off and just, it's a little relieving too, to like actually admit fault.
Yeah.
Because the reason people are afraid to admit fault is usually you get berated.
Right. And
so you'd never, it's self-fulfilling, like self-preservation.
He wasn't that kind of guy.
He would never do that to you.
Yeah.
He would just respectfully give him whatever he asked for and be truthful and move on.
Yeah, man.
Like I told a story, some other show, I think one time. I forgot who the DN was for the Packers. Jenkins.
Yeah, I think it was.
That's first name. Anyway, we're trying to run an inside zone. Dude, he was so strong, 3-4, and I literally couldn't move him. And Munchak, we come off, and he's like, "What's going on over there?" I'm like, "I'm not moving him. I'm not strong enough to move him." Like, who wants to say that to their coach at a professional level, right? I was like, "If you want to run outside zone, I'll get around him for the same reason, right? I can't move him because he's so big and strong, but I'll reach him if you want to go outside zone. We'll do it right now." He's like, "All right, then you sit down." Like, basically, the reason it's a relief is I've now told my coach, who should relay to the offensive coordinator, so if he calls that play again, now it's
on him.
It's his fault,
right.
not my fault.
Right.
I already told you I can't. Now, it might be some other things to be done, like maybe do some more squats on Monday, but like there's other fixes there. But for right now, I can't move him.
So that's out of the question. Out the question. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys figured it out because you guys say 2010, you go on a run. You got the top back in the league, and I think again another interesting moment there is that 2010 for me was the first year that I go into history books with the Beastquake run. And I say that because you guys went on a run 2010 to have a back to hit hit 2,000 yards. And again, ironically,
on the same field.
Ironically, it was on the same field in Seattle against the Seahawks. And so tell me about that run. I mean, being able to block for a guy that had that kind of burst that put you guys in the record books.
It was a lot of fun. Any old basic run play that, usually you're trying to get 2 yards out of it could be gone. So it made us better players because you can't be the guy. Like, oh, you're trying to go get a linebacker or a safety. You're like, you never get up to the safety. Like, he's not going to be a factor. Oh, shit, there's Chris. And he just got tackled. And now there's no question, everyone in the world watching the game or film later going, that guy didn't do his job.
Yeah.
It would have been a touchdown.
And you didn't want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So you would run longer, try harder, whatever, to find your guy, or at least keep going if he's running. Like, keep going the line you're supposed to, because all of a sudden Chris cuts something, you're in that guy's way, and now he's through. So it was fun to, we all were in better shape because you were running around a lot more, but or running after the touchdown that's 60 yards again and cheering and celebrating. But it was a lot of fun to not know what play would hit it, There was one against the Jets that he had that was 95 yards. We're backed up 5-yard line. We're just trying to get space, right? We didn't block through the linebackers. We messed up. But he just hit it so fast through the hole that literally the guy got touched by nobody. And he was the guy that was kind of in the hole to make the play. And he's gone.
Dude, I remember sitting on the sideline watching the game, and I remember our defense saying, we're not going to let him get this record on us. And I'm sitting here watching this big fullback you guys have leading up on. Man, gosh, he was leading up on our Mike linebacker.
Sarge.
And Lofa was a really good linebacker, man. And next thing you know, I'm like, oof, he may get it. And it was like, no, he's not going to get it. And then he hit one. You're like, one got to beat. He's gone. He's gone.
Yep.
I mean, it was something to watch, man. I mean, we enjoy it, man, especially as an old lineman when you kind of have a back like that. I mean, because the years before that, we had Sean Alexander, and he hit over 1,600 yards, and we were hoping to be able to get to that 2K, but to see a guy to get to that 2K as fast as he did, it was pretty impressive to see you guys. And just, I mean, again, the old line everybody was just so technical, up and down the whole old line.
Yeah, you had to be, because again, it goes to that ownership to the whole group and the team, right? Because you all know there's something here. You don't be the guy.
Yeah,
do not be the reason, right? It's funny to sometimes listen when there's win streaks or anything like that going on. People in the media always give the PC answers. They're like, are you guys talking about the 2,000 yards? And they're always like, we're just trying to take it one game at a time. Like, bullshit.
Yeah.
We're in there every week going, okay, because 6 games, if he averages this much per game, we'll get the 2,000 yards. Like, every week after whatever he would have, we'd be, as O-line, going like, okay, that was 200 yards. All right, a little breathing room.
And if I know you being an analytical guy, you were definitely analyzing it.
Oh, yeah. It was me and Jake Scott always going like, okay, what do we need this week? Okay.
All right, we can get this done. Well, so we're going to have a quick 2-minute here. I do this 2-minute segment going into halftime. So it's so soft tossers here. Right off the bat, favorite stadium you've ever played in?
Green Bay.
Favorite stadium you've ever played? Green Bay. All right. Loudest stadium you've ever played?
I got to say Seattle, I think.
All right. Toughest DN you faced in your career?
White training.
Why?
Speed, power, spin, everything. He's so fast up the field, so you get worried. And as soon as you turn a little bit, he hits that spin move that he has embarrassed many Hall of Fame tackles with that spin move, and me included. Not Hall of Famer, but just, I'm not saying I was better than Hall of Famers. Just so fast.
All right. Funniest teammate you ever played with?
Top of my head, I'm just going to go Fitz. I texted him recently because he's just, what you see is who he is. He's just never not cracking jokes.
Yeah. I thought you would say David Stewart.
Yeah, he's damn funny too. No one would ever believe me. the mute guy? No.
All right. So as I said, you've gone on and you had a really, really good career, played 10 years in this league at a high level. Now you are looking at this transition. What does that transition start to look like? What does Michael do outside of football? Who does he become? Where does those intangibles that you learn in football, how do you start to stack them up to help you make that transition out of it?
Well, for me, I didn't have much necessarily to transition because I wasn't trying to go into anything, new right away. Was lucky enough to make enough money to live comfortably. And so when I was done playing, first thing my wife and I wanted to do was travel more. We'd always go during July before camp and have trips here and there, but we just started going everywhere to just see the world. It's something we've always wanted to do and been passionate about. And then it was just kind of enjoy life, like whatever, get cooked, right? Before it was get cooked, it was go play more golf, like go swim. It doesn't matter. Just everybody works and you get retired at 65 or whatever, and then you start your next life. And well, I got to do that at 33.
Yeah.
So why wait? Like, I have a younger, healthier body than I will at 65, so do it now. People ask me sometimes, like, what do you do now? I'm like, whatever I want.
Well,
some people get bored with that, right?
Yeah, but you've been a little modest, though. You've been a little modest because you definitely, if we even just, let's take that question back to transition, because you thought different, you was thinking different than everybody else. You set yourself up before you even got to that transition because different projects that you were working on, we
did some
big development stuff.
Yeah, we did some mixed use development that would be, be all like a windfall if something ever happened, or for sure. And there was a point at the end of my career too, where, wanted to play maybe a couple more years, but that wasn't going to happen. Then it's okay. So mentally you're like, all right, this is going to be the end. At peace with it pretty quickly, because there's a point, and you're seeing younger guys retire now, because there's a point towards the end there where it truly, in my mind, was like, okay, this is a means to an end.
Yeah.
Like there was lots of love there. You have to have it to play at that level and put the work in. But the love was starting to fade to how much am I willing to put the work in if I don't have the love?
Yeah.
And then I can't do that because now I'm not going 100%. And that's going to hurt me and the team I'm playing for. So then when I was decided to be done, it was like, all right, that was a means to an end. It gave me what I needed to live the rest of my life. Football is not done.
Yeah.
Like, it was a major part. It was fun. A lot of memories, everything. But, I'm 42. It was not counting college, but the NFL, that was a quarter of my life. 10 years.
Small window.
A lot of other life, so I get how people have so much love. They still want to stay in it, whether it's coaching or doesn't matter, anything. Like, I get it. I didn't have that. So,
yeah.
And again, I can't do it just to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta want to do it.
As you start to think about, like, just, I'm sure you've tracking, you're reading all these articles around NIL, transfer portal. Mm-hmm. If there's a piece of advice that you have for a young athlete right now that's entered this world, again, we didn't have to go through and have to live, what would that piece of advice be to them?
Well, on the one hand, it's do what you feel is best for you and your family, right? But a lot of people are not taking the NIL money because it's best for the family. It's greed. Like, it's hard to know because it's all in the future, but best for your family might be getting your college degree and being in the same school for 4 years.
Yeah.
Guys aren't doing that anymore. They're just like, okay, they're trying to be stars before they go to the NFL.
Yeah. You
can be a college star. That happens, obviously, but there's this, with social media, and like they have these followings, and like that are big. And like, but if you do make it to the NFL, there isn't that like culture in the NFL anymore where those guys get kind of knocked down a little bit.
Yeah.
The world is softer. Everybody has to be okay with everybody being who they are. And like, no, you come, I don't care. It doesn't matter how big any of us were when you came in as a rookie. Shut the hell up. Be seen, not heard. And you did it.
Yeah.
Because it was respect, the culture, the way it was. Don't talk to a vet unless he talks to you, you know? And then after a year or two, and if you played well, now you're immediately even.
You've earned that right.
You're even. Guys come in thinking they're even.
Yeah.
And it's painful to watch. Like, I couldn't play right now. The personalities, couldn't do it.
My hope for a lot of these kids is that as they're making these transitions, because the money is getting so big now, it's hard to turn down. I mean, even when you look in the corporate world, people, they're going to get offered money to take another job, they're going to take it. My hope for them is to make sure that they're also thinking about their psychological side, their mental performance side. Like, is this the right environment for me? Do I have the psychological skill set? If I'm a small town kid, I'm going to Miami to be able to thrive in this environment. How do I put myself in a position to thrive versus just to be in a position to survive because someone gave me money?
Right.
Because it may not be the right fit for you long term, and then now you find yourself bouncing around different places trying to find. Right. And so my hope is that they're taking those things into consideration.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, you definitely need to. Now that you have the ability to pick a school as opposed to them, or change one. Yeah, find one that has whatever position you're in,
right?
A spot where like you're going to play. Or, there's a bunch of guys that have left Eastern over the last few years going to bigger schools because it's a bigger school. Like, well, you're wide receiver number 7. You went from catching 80 balls to 4,
right?
At a bigger school. Cool. Which one would give you more exposure? All the games are on ESPN Plus now.
Right.
Well, and if you can play, people know you.
And now
it's impossible to be a good
reps.
player. Yeah, it's possible to be a good player and have someone not know about you.
Yeah,
there's too much social media and internet. Like,
right.
You don't have to worry about the exposure. It's there.
Well, I got one more question for you,
right.
And this is, it's going to make you think again outside of back into your intangibles. If you had to give yourself a couple intangibles that meant the world to you throughout your career, throughout your transition from coming to the U.S., learning how to speak English, and then making yourself a career that you've made, what would those intangibles or intangible be? And you can't stick to it and say, I'm going to give you another one. You got to give me another one.
I think another one I just thought of that kind of goes with that, but it brings a lot of those other things in at the same time because you can kind of massage it. Mental toughness.
Mental toughness.
So you're sticking through something. You got to be mentally tough to do it. Obviously, going all in. Like not quitting. Saying integrity. Where you're going to say you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Which mental toughness goes with that. I think because it just takes effort to do it all. I think that might be a good one. Mental toughness and integrity. Those are big on me for just anybody I am associated with. Yeah. And the mental toughness, like we said, it's kind of fading in sports and society a little bit.
Yeah.
And
which there has to be room for both because you got to have that mental toughness aspect of things. And I think because that's the thing that helps you survive, to do things, the hard things, to have the ability to persevere through hard things. But I think there has to be a combination now of mental performance because you have to be in a position mentally from a psychological standpoint to make good decisions, be able to control your anxiety, have I'm having these negative thoughts that may affect my play. How do I manage those things? And so I think having both of those work together has to be really important and at the forefront of what people are thinking about because you and I got our mental toughness from our circumstances, our environment. This younger generation is not getting that.
Yeah.
They're everything is so structured now where they're having these conversations with a coach who's blowing a whistle, they're stopping an argument or there's a foul or whatever it may be. But we rode our bikes around the neighborhoods, we climbed trees, we done all these things to to force us to use our critical thinking, which falls into that category as mental performance.
Yeah.
And
Part of it, I feel like, you don't need fights in practice, but like same time, the societal pressures that everybody needs to be even and heard and, cared for generally is a great idea, but sometimes you have to get knocked in your ass.
Yeah.
And if it's your teammate doing it, you can either get up and punch him, which is going to cause a problem and you might get off the team. So find mental toughness, whatever that stick to itiveness, get up and make the shot in his face instead. Right. Do it with the game.
And that's mental performance.
Right.
I can go here.
Nobody has that. They just go, coach, he said, and you go,
right.
Shut up and just play.
Right.
Let it all work itself out. But even the coaches can't do that. They have to break the practice up and go, okay, guys, hold on, instead of baseline.
Right.
That's how I play basketball.
Yeah.
You guys want to bicker? You're all running.
Yes.
The whole team's running. So now the other 12 guys are going, you want to shut the fuck up? Like that peer pressure to do it the right way.
It's a thing.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Everybody gets hurt, and there's definitely a space for that where everybody should be heard and have a voice. The problem is people think I have a voice. I can say whatever I want, right?
Yeah.
That everybody has to agree with your voice.
Right.
And they don't.
Right. Well, this has been fun, man. It's been fun to catch up. It's fun to go deeper into your childhood and things that, I didn't really know about you. I knew it from a surface level, but it's been fun to catch up and go in there. And again, we've done a lot of social activities together that included some booze and some golfing,
some cigars, and
all the fun things.
We've gotten cooked a few times,
we definitely gotten cooked a couple of times here. But it's been fun, man. I really appreciate you joining me on the podcast. Now it's time for us to go and have a cigar.
It is. Appreciate it, man.
It was awesome, dude. Appreciate you.